Hi everyone, hi, it's Eric again. Today I'm going to do another Solitaire review of a war game from a Solitaire player's perspective, and today's I'm going to do something a little different. The game's really old, so I'm going to do Panzer Armee Afrika. My version's no Avalon Hill version. It was first published in 1973, so it's not in print anymore, but it's pretty cheap and easily obtainable on the internet. It's a really it's a beginner's war game. Okay, anyone can have fun playing this game. And the second thing interesting is this game is not a solitaire game. This is a multiplayer game, but because it doesn't have any hidden information, it plays very well solitaire. And I will talk about how I would go about playing a game like this, because I remember first seeing games like many of the GMT games says 1 to 4 player. Then when you buy it, especially as a beginner, you wonder, it's a 2-player game. There's no solitaire rules. But war games can be played by yourself, even if they don't have a solitaire rule, because it's a conflict simulation. So you play through the game, trying to see how it all works out, and how it plays differently from history. So you can try something different, or you can try the same, and you can see if you can emulate history, which is fine too. So that's what I'm going to do today. Let's go with the review. Okay, overview of the map. This is the map for Panzer Armee Afrika. I've got the Avalon Hill version. You can see the map is fairly Spartan, but that pretty much sums up the landscape on this part of Africa. This is North Africa, and this is the eastern part of North Africa. On the left-hand side of the map, over here is Libya, and over here is Egypt. And strategically, you can see basically the road networks run along the coastal areas of the map, so that's where much of the action will occur. None of my units really reach down here, although so you can see the dotted lines are tracks and the solid lines are roads, and the roads are more mobile. Tracks takes 2 movement points to move along tracks, only 1 movement point to move along roads, and the clear areas are desert areas, open clearings, and they take 3 movement factors to move through. And if you take a closer look, there's other terrain features, like there's the ridges here. These ridges are very expensive to move across, and also they provide a substantial defensive bonuses. Basically, you halve the opponent's attack, which is so looking, even though there is not many features on this map, it's pretty important to understand what's there to take advantage of it. And on the left-hand side here is where the Germans start, and basically they have to make their way across the map all the way. And you pretty much need to take Tobruk. Tobruk is in the center of the map, and because it basically bisects the map right down the middle, to get your German supplies across to where the Allies starts. This is your objective here, the Alexander. You really need to take Tobruk, and so everything sort of works up to that point in the game. Because Tobruk's a supply source as well, so if you don't take Tobruk, then the Allies can use that as a staging area to take their objective, which is the German starting area. So it's pretty important. So this is where the main battle takes place. On the right hand side is Bardia, and Bardia is actually, I reckon, a bit of a decoy for the Allies. It's not that important to take. It's nice to have it out of the way once Tobruk falls, but because it really clears up that road network, and so that you don't waste you don't have to build a supply source all the way around Bardia to get to Alexander. But Bardia can hold up the Germans, and it's interesting. It's an interesting dilemma for the Allies there. Also, there's apart from road movement, there's also sea movement. So the Allied units can move shipment units from Alexander directly to Tobruk and limitedly to Bardia, and also there's
and you can see the other supply things. These are supply markers, and so they need to be within 20 movement factors for units to be in supply. So basically over here, there's the beginnings of a supply network. So basically, the Germans have supplies. This is a supply source here, and so this is linking to that. There's 20 movement supply factors here, or less than that actually, and then there's another one here, another one here. So this network's all linked, and so units within 20 units of any of these points are in supply. And so it's interesting that how the supply works. The supplies are actually mobile. You can build little trucks to move the supplies around, and they can only go on roads. And so the supply not only affects if units are in supply and can they move. There's also an attack supply rule where your units need to be within 8 movement factors of a supply to attack at full strength. So you really need to get that supply right up to the front to have it effective. And also there's an option to basically voluntarily discard a supply to get a double combat factor, and you pretty much need to do that for Tobruk, because Tobruk here has basically any unit in Tobruk has a 5 times combat factor in defense. So it's pretty powerful, and if you pretty much need to prepare for a massive offensive to even consider taking Tobruk, and you definitely need to sacrifice one of your supply sources to do so. I'll talk a little bit here about the combat results table, which is always an integral part of any war game, especially these typical hex and counter ones. This particular game is a little different from the classic combat results table, especially from this era. Instead of using a ratio system where I have twice as many combat factors as you, or half combat factors as you, or maybe 4 times, 6 times, 10 times, and then you read the ratio on the top. In this game, it's actually easier. So basically, all you do is say these ally units in red are the attackers, and so basically ignoring terrain and supply effects. So just look at the numbers. Here they have 11 attack. So the number on the left, add them together, and over here on the right here is the Germans have 8. Okay, 8 in defense. So basically all you do is 11 minus 8, 3, so you read down the 3 table, you throw the dice, and you see what the Germans lose. And so, say this is obviously not a prudent attack here, because only on a 1 will the Germans actually lose anything. So, but let's just say the Allies make this foolish, desperate attempt, and then they roll a 1. So they rolled a 1, and so this German dies. Okay, now, so what remains is 4, but the Germans then get to counterattack. Right? Counterattack ignore all terrain effects. Okay, so that's an important point. And the Germans actually have this massive advantage of attacking, and only they have this advantage. The Allies have the same thing, but to a lesser extent. Now, and also the Italians have this, but to the same extent as the Allies. Well, the Germans actually get to counterattack with this unit, the remaining unit, times 4. Okay, and if this wasn't a German unit, this was an Ally unit or an Italian unit, then it's a times 2. So it's a German. The Allies really think twice before attacking any German unit, because this unit times 4 is 16 versus the remaining here, which is 11. Okay, so so that's a difference of 5. So basically, the counterattack can be quite devastating. You can see 6, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3. So definitely, guaranteed loss of a unit here. So you can't win on attrition playing the Allies versus German units. So that's the combat table, and that explains how the counterattack works in this game. So now that we've talked a little bit about how the game works and how supply works in this game, I'll just talk a little bit about how I play these multiplayer games, Solitaire. Well, this game has no Solitaire rules, so you either basically play with someone else, or you play by yourself, and you play both sides. And so and it's a good game. I mean, the unit density is not high, right? So these are the units here, and and basically, you may have, this is like a beginning of a game, sort of near the beginning of the game situation, and basically, you don't get many more units than this really. You might get 3 times more. So this game's actually quite manageable solitaire, so it makes for a good solitaire game. There's no hidden information. It's a very old game, and back in the old days, hidden information was still innovative at the time. So this sort of game works really well solitaire. Now, what I usually do is I play one side. Okay, so what that means is I favour the Germans on this game, say, and so I play the Germans, and I play the Germans as myself. So I don't have a set strategy. I try to be flexible with the Germans because that's how I play. And what I do is in that case is I sort of automate the allies, and you still need to make decisions for them, but basically I have a grand strategy which I stick with, and funny enough, often that grand strategy works a lot better than my flexible strategies. So in this particular situation, clearly the center section is the crux of this game, and also the northern road route to Alexander. So for the Allies, it's obviously really important to defend that road, also defend Tobruk and to a limited extent Bardia, and hopefully probe for weak spots, and if the Germans make some bad decisions, they can try to break through, and pretty much if you can break through and start capturing some German supplies on the northern Libyan coast, then the Germans could be in a bit of trouble, and maybe even have their home base taken over. So that's what I usually do for this sort of game.
Welcome back, everyone. Now that we've been through the basic game flow, I hope I've highlighted some of the differences between this game and other typical war games. This game is mostly typical, really. The only, I think, the essential difference is maybe a little bit of that supply, and also the supply rules, and also that combat results table that doesn't use ratio and odds instead. And I like it. It's easier to read, and I don't need to calculate things and stuff. And also, this game has like this 8-page rule book. I mean, it's nothing. And I think if you were, the game is so standard that I think you can just write an A4 pages of differences from other war games, and you can probably just play. So it's an easy game to play, and also it teaches the fundamentals of any war game. And that's the advantages of playing some of these old games from these bygone ages, because innovation everything was in innovation back then. So it's a great introduction to war game, and this particular game, what I like about it most is how it captures the essence of this battle through such simple set of rules. I mean, this battle was fought along the northern coast of North Africa, and it was all about mobility, flanking, and two things that does this. The movement factors are huge in this game. I mean, I didn't highlight it before, but a German tank division can move 60 movement factors. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it means that they can move 60 hexes along the roads. But once you get off the roads, you just lose that totally. But that even off the roads, even when you're moving through the desert, that's still like it costs 3 movement factors to do so. So this 60 movement factor becomes 20 in the clear desert. That's still a lot of movement factors, and that still highlights that this game's all about maneuver. And within one turn, you can outflank your enemy. You can capture, go behind the supply lines. You can build your own supply lines to your advantage. So it's really, you feel like when you're playing this that you are emulating and trying to emulate what happened during this conflict, and to do so in 8 pages of rules is actually quite amazing. I hope that through this review that I highlighted how some of these old games can be quite good, and in a way timeless.